The galactic predators were a force unparalleled in the galaxy, feared by all who knew their name. Their reputation for ruthlessness and dominance was etched into the annals of history, a legacy built on the ashes of countless civilizations. These were not merely conquerors but the embodiment of brute strength and advanced technology, a species that thrived on the submission of others. Their towering forms, each a terrifying blend of muscle and mechanized armor, struck fear into the hearts of all who dared to gaze upon them. Their technology was the stuff of nightmares, energy weapons that could vaporize entire fleets in seconds, shielding systems that rendered them nearly invincible, and biomechanical enhancements that made them faster, stronger, and deadlier than any other species in the galaxy. Their reign of terror had begun eons ago, with the predators systematically eradicating or enslaving any species that crossed their path. Their victories were swift and decisive, leaving no room for mercy or negotiation. Entire planets were razed to the ground, their inhabitants either exterminated or forced into servitude. The predators were methodical in their conquests, each victory a testament to their unchallenged power. Stories of their exploits spread like wildfire, and soon, the very mention of their name was enough to send lesser species into a frenzy of panic. No one had ever dared to stand against them and lived to tell the tale. They were the apex predators of the galaxy, unmatched and unchallenged. In their encounters with lesser species, the predators displayed a brutal efficiency that was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. They would descend upon unsuspecting worlds with a speed and ferocity that left their victims with no time to mount a defense. Their attacks were relentless, their tactics flawless. The predators understood the art of war in a way that no other species did. They were not just soldiers, they were hunters. Each battle was a hunt, each victory a trophy. They reveled in the fear they instilled in their enemies, drawing power from the terror that spread through the ranks of those who dared to resist. Entire armadas crumbled before them, mighty fortresses reduced to rubble in a matter of hours. The predators did not negotiate, they did not show mercy, and they did not leave survivors. Their dominance was absolute, their authority unchallenged. The galaxy learned quickly that resistance was futile. Species that had once prided themselves on their military prowess, their technological advancements, or their strategic acumen found themselves utterly outmatched. The predators were a force of nature, an unstoppable tide of destruction that swept through the galaxy with unrelenting force. Those who attempted to fight back were swiftly crushed, their civilizations obliterated. Those who surrendered were spared the fate of annihilation, but were subjected to a life of servitude under the iron grip of their new masters. The predators ruled with an iron fist, their dominion expanding with each passing century. Their empire was vast, their influence reaching every corner of the known galaxy. No one questioned their authority, no one dared to challenge their rule. With each victory, the predators grew more confident, more arrogant. They believed themselves to be invincible, convinced that no force in the galaxy could ever hope to challenge them. Their arrogance was not unfounded. After all, they had never encountered a species that could match their power, their cunning, or their technological prowess. They had faced countless adversaries and had emerged victorious every time. The predators viewed themselves as the pinnacle of evolution, the ultimate life form. They were the hunters, and the rest of the galaxy were merely prey. It was a belief that had been reinforced time and time again, with each conquest, each victory. They had no reason to believe that things would ever be different. And so, they continued their reign of terror, their arrogance growing with each passing year. They had become complacent, confident in their belief that they were unbeatable. The galaxy had learned to fear them, to avoid them at all costs. Diplomacy was futile, resistance was suicidal, and escape was impossible. The predators had no equal, no rival. They were the masters of the galaxy, and they intended to keep it that way. But in their arrogance, they failed to notice the quiet rise of a new player on the galactic stage. A species that had been overlooked, dismissed as insignificant by the mighty predators. A species that, unbeknownst to them, was about to challenge everything they believed about their place in the galaxy. The predators had grown too confident, too sure of their invincibility. They had forgotten that even the mightiest hunters could become the hunted. The humans were coming, and the predators were not prepared for what was about to unfold. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy, a battle that would determine the future of both species. The predators believed they had nothing to fear, but they were about to learn a lesson that would echo through the ages. Even the greatest empires can fall, and even the most feared hunters can become the prey. Humanity had long been an obscure presence in the vast expanse of the galaxy. They were a relatively young species, having only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. Their technology, while impressive by their own standards, was primitive compared to the advanced civilizations that dominated the stars. Yet there was something about humans that set them apart. They possessed a resilience, a tenacity, that allowed them to thrive in environments where others would falter. They were survivors, adaptable and resourceful, qualities that had served them well on their home planet and were now proving invaluable as they ventured into the greater galaxy. The first encounter between humans and the galactic predators was not a planned diplomatic meeting or a carefully orchestrated exploration mission. Instead, it was the result of an unexpected distress signal, emanating from a remote system on the fringes of known space. A human exploration vessel had stumbled into the path of a predator-hunting fleet, a collision of fates that neither side had anticipated. The predators, upon detecting the human ship, viewed it as nothing more than another piece of prey, a trivial obstacle to be crushed underfoot. The humans, on the other hand, saw the predators for what they were, a terrifying and immediate threat. The predators, confident in their superiority, moved into attack without hesitation. They had encountered countless species before, each one crumbling before their might, and they had no reason to believe that this encounter would be any different. The humans, after all, were not a species known for their military prowess. They had no grand fleets or massive armadas to call upon. Their technology was outdated by galactic standards, and their ship, while sturdy, was no match for the predator vessels in terms of firepower or speed. To the predators, this was nothing more than a routine extermination, a chance to flex their muscles and remind the galaxy of their dominance. But as they moved to strike, the humans did something unexpected. Instead of attempting to flee or surrender, they fought back. The predators were taken aback by the audacity of this seemingly insignificant species. The humans had no chance of winning, and yet they resisted with a ferocity that defied all logic. The predators' initial assault was met with a barrage of countermeasures, electronic warfare, improvised weapons, and a series of calculated maneuvers that disrupted their formation. The humans were outgunned and outmatched, but they fought with a determination that caught the predators off guard. The predators attempted to overpower the humans with sheer force, deploying their advanced weaponry in a show of overwhelming might. They targeted the human ship with precision strikes, intending to cripple it in a single, decisive blow. But the humans proved to be more resourceful than anticipated. They used the environment to their advantage, exploiting the asteroid field around them to evade and counter the predator attacks. They employed guerrilla tactics, striking from unexpected angles and then disappearing into the debris, leaving the predators to chase shadows. It was a strategy that had worked well for them on their own planet, and now it was serving them in the depths of space. As the battle wore on, the predators began to realize that they were dealing with something different. The humans were not like the other species they had encountered. They did not break under pressure, nor did they submit when faced with overwhelming odds. Instead, they adapted, learning from each exchange, improving their tactics, and finding ways to exploit the predators' weaknesses. The predators, who had always relied on their superior technology and brute strength to win battles, found themselves struggling to keep up with the humans' unpredictable strategies. The turning point came when the humans managed to disable one of the predator ships. It was a feat that should have been impossible, given the disparity in technology, but the humans had found a way. They had exploited a vulnerability in the predator shielding system, a flaw that had never before been discovered because no other species had ever lived long enough to find it. The predators were shocked, not only by the loss of one of their ships but by the fact that these humans, whom they had dismissed as insignificant, had managed to outthink them. For the first time, the predators felt a pang of fear. It was a sensation they were not accustomed to, one that they had long believed was beneath them. But as they watched the humans rally and prepare for another round, they could not deny the reality before them. The humans were not just another species to be conquered, they were a force to be reckoned with. The predators, who had always prided themselves on their invincibility, were now facing an enemy that was not only unafraid but was capable of fighting back. The battle ended in a stalemate, with the humans managing to escape, leaving the predators with more questions than answers. This was a new experience for them, an encounter that had not ended in their favor, a foe that had not been crushed beneath their heel. The predators returned to their fleet, their confidence shaken, their arrogance dented. They had underestimated humanity, and it was a mistake they would not soon forget. The encounter marked the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history, one where the predators were no longer the unchallenged rulers of the stars. They had met a species that was not intimidated by their reputation, a species that was willing to fight, no matter the odds. And in doing so, the humans had done what no other species had ever done before. They had made the galactic predators afraid. The humans had always been a species defined by their ability to adapt. This characteristic, honed through centuries of survival on their volatile home planet, became their greatest asset in the conflict with the galactic predators. Each encounter with the predators provided humanity with invaluable insights into their enemies' tactics and technology. What initially seemed like insurmountable obstacles became opportunities for innovation. The humans were quick to analyze the predator technology, identifying weaknesses that had gone unnoticed by the rest of the galaxy. They repurposed what little they had, turning outdated tech into formidable weapons, and employed psychological tactics that bewildered their adversaries. Where the predators relied on sheer strength and overwhelming firepower, the humans countered with strategy and cunning. They used their environment, their knowledge of physics, and their understanding of warfare to level the playing field. They began deploying decoys to confuse predator targeting systems, creating false signals that led the predators into traps. They hacked into predator communications, feeding them disinformation and turning their own strategies against them. It wasn't just about fighting back. It was about outthinking an enemy that had always believed itself to be superior. The humans demonstrated a remarkable capacity for learning, adapting their tactics in real time, and exploiting every flaw they discovered in the predator arsenal. As these tactics began to yield results, a change occurred within the ranks of the predators. What had begun as a confident campaign of conquest was now turning into a desperate struggle for control. The predators, who had never before known defeat, found themselves facing an enemy that refused to be subdued. With each skirmish, their frustration grew. What had once been a straightforward path to victory was now marred by unexpected setbacks and losses. The humans were not fighting by the rules the predators had come to expect, and this unpredictability was eroding their confidence. Tensions began to rise within the predator hierarchy. Some argued that the humans were merely a nuisance, one that could be crushed with greater force. Others, however, began to voice doubts, something that had never before been heard in predator ranks. Could it be that these humans were different? Could it be that their long-held belief in their own invincibility had blinded them to a real threat? These were questions that sowed discord among the predators, leading to internal conflicts that further weakened their resolve. The cracks in their unity became more apparent with each encounter, and what was once an unbreakable force was now fracturing under the strain. The turning point came during a battle in a remote star system, where the humans executed a plan that would become the stuff of legend. Using a combination of stealth technology and precise timing, they managed to infiltrate the predator fleet. In the heart of the battle, they unleashed a barrage of electromagnetic pulses, disabling the predators' advanced systems and leaving them vulnerable. What followed was a display of human ingenuity and tenacity that left the galaxy in awe. The humans struck with a coordinated assault, targeting key predator ships and crippling their command structure. The predators, caught off guard and unable to counter the human tactics, suffered a devastating defeat. This victory was more than just a tactical win. It was a psychological blow that the predators could not recover from easily. The humans had not only survived, they had turned the tide of the war. The once invincible predators were now reeling, forced to confront the reality that they were not as unstoppable as they had always believed. The human victory sent shockwaves through the galaxy, altering the balance of power and marking the beginning of a new era. The predators, who had once feared nothing, now faced a foe that could not only resist them but could also outmaneuver and outsmart them. For humanity, this victory was a testament to their resilience and strategic brilliance. It was proof that they could stand toe-to-toe with the most feared species in the galaxy and come out on top. The war was far from over, but the momentum had shifted. The predators were no longer the hunters, they were the hunted. And the humans, who had been underestimated and dismissed as insignificant, were now a force to be reckoned with. The galaxy watched in stunned silence, as the once dominant predators began to retreat, their aura of invincibility shattered by the very species they had so arrogantly dismissed. As the tide of the war turned against them, the galactic predators found themselves in uncharted territory, desperation. For the first time in their history, they were facing an enemy they couldn't easily crush, an enemy that had not only survived but had begun to push them back. The predators, who had once relished in their dominance, were now forced to escalate the conflict in ways they had never anticipated. They unleashed their most powerful weapons, devices capable of annihilating entire planets, and initiated large-scale assaults designed to overwhelm human defenses. It was a brutal, all-out effort to reclaim their lost superiority. But these extreme measures came at a cost. The predators were stretching their resources to the limit, and the relentless pace of the war was taking its toll. Their once unshakable morale was crumbling under the weight of repeated failures. Each assault that failed to bring the humans to their knees only deepened the sense of dread that had begun to permeate their ranks. The confidence that had once fueled their conquests was now a distant memory, replaced by a gnawing fear that they were fighting a losing battle. Even their most powerful weapons, which had once inspired terror across the galaxy, were proving ineffective against the humans' adaptive strategies and relentless resistance. The war was grinding down both sides, but while the humans were galvanized by their successes, the predators were faltering. The strain of constant battle, the losses of their once mighty fleets, and the psychological toll of facing an enemy that would not break were wearing them down. The galaxy watched as the mighty predators, once feared and revered, began to show signs of weakness. Their assaults grew more frantic, more reckless, as they sought to regain the upper hand. But with each failed attempt, the realization that they might not emerge victorious became harder to ignore. Humanity, sensing the predators' desperation, seized the opportunity to launch a counteroffensive. The human leaders, emboldened by their recent victories, devised strategies that turned the predators' own strengths against them. They exploited the predators' reliance on overwhelming force, using guerrilla tactics and precision strikes to disrupt their massive assaults. The humans targeted key infrastructure and supply lines, weakening the predators from within. They deployed advanced countermeasures that rendered the predators' most powerful weapons ineffective, turning the tide even further in humanity's favor. On multiple fronts, the humans pushed back, reclaiming territory that had been lost and driving the predators into a defensive posture. The once invincible predator fleets found themselves on the run, forced to retreat in the face of coordinated human attacks. The humans, outmatched in terms of raw firepower, outmaneuvered their enemies with superior tactics and an unyielding determination. It was a testament to the brilliance of their leaders, who had managed to turn the chaos of war into a coherent and effective strategy. The galaxy began to see the humans not as victims, but as a formidable force, capable of standing against even the most powerful adversaries. The predators, now cornered and desperate, prepared for their last stand. They gathered their remaining forces, pulling back to a stronghold they believed to be impregnable. It was here that they would make their final attempt to turn the tide, to reclaim their place as the galaxy's dominant species. But even as they fortified their defenses and prepared for battle, there was a sense of inevitability hanging over them. The humans had proven themselves to be an enemy unlike any they had faced before, and the predators knew that their time was running out. In this final confrontation, the predators threw everything they had at the humans, deploying their last reserves and their most devastating weapons. But it was not enough. The humans, driven by the momentum of their previous victories and the knowledge that this was the final hurdle, fought with unmatched ferocity. The battle was fierce, the stakes higher than ever, but the outcome had already been decided. The predators, once the undisputed rulers of the galaxy, were now facing the reality of their defeat. As the battle drew to a close, it became clear that the Predators' reign of terror was over. Their forces, decimated and demoralized, could no longer continue the fight. The humans had not only survived the onslaught, they had triumphed. The galaxy, which had lived in fear of the Predators for so long, now looked to humanity as its new protector. The Predators, who had once feared nothing, were now a broken remnant of their former selves, their empire in ruins. The war had ended, and with it, the era of the Galactic Predators. The war ended with a resounding finality, a decisive blow that shattered the remnants of the Galactic Predators' once mighty empire. As the last of their strongholds fell, the reality of their defeat sank in. The Predators, who had ruled the galaxy with an iron fist, were now a shadow of their former selves, their power broken, their pride crushed. The disbelief among their ranks was palpable. For a species that had never known defeat, the shock of their downfall was profound. They had never imagined that a species as seemingly insignificant as humanity could bring them to their knees. The Predators had been certain of their invincibility, but now they faced the cold truth: they had been bested by those they had once dismissed as nothing more than prey. In the aftermath of their defeat, the Predators were left to grapple with their new reality. The fearsome warriors, who had once inspired terror across the galaxy, now found themselves humbled. Their fleets were decimated, their planets occupied, and their leadership in disarray. The empire they had built through conquest and fear had crumbled in the face of human resilience and ingenuity. The contrast was stark. Where once they had stood as the galaxy's supreme predators, they were now a broken, defeated people. The galaxy, which had long trembled under their rule, now watched in amazement as the mighty Predators were reduced to little more than a cautionary tale. For humanity, the victory was bittersweet. The cost of the war had been immense, with countless lives lost and entire worlds devastated in the struggle. The humans had fought not just for survival, but for their place in the galaxy, and that fight had come with a heavy price. As they stood on the ashes of their enemies, the human leaders reflected on the sacrifices that had been made. They honored the fallen, those who had given everything to ensure that humanity would endure. There was pride in their victory, but also a deep sense of loss. The war had tested them in ways they had never anticipated, pushing them to the brink, but in the end, it had also revealed their true strength. With the Predators defeated, humanity sent a message to the galaxy, a powerful warning that echoed across the stars. They would not be underestimated again. The humans, once seen as a minor species on the fringes of the galaxy, had proven their worth in the crucible of war. They had faced down the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known and emerged victorious. But they were not naive. The galaxy was vast and filled with dangers, and humanity knew that there would always be new challenges ahead. Their message was clear: they sought peace, but they were prepared to defend themselves against any who might threaten them. The war had taught them that survival required vigilance, and they were determined to ensure that the sacrifices they had made would not be in vain. As the dust settled, a new order began to take shape in the galaxy. The power dynamics that had once been dominated by the Predators were now in flux. Humanity, once overlooked and underestimated, had emerged as a formidable force, respected and feared in equal measure. They did not seek to dominate, as the Predators had, but their presence was felt across the galaxy. They became a stabilizing influence, using their newfound power to foster cooperation and prevent the rise of another tyrannical force. The galaxy, weary of war, looked to humanity not as conquerors, but as protectors, a role they accepted with cautious optimism. Humanity's ascent to prominence was not without its challenges, but they faced the future with a renewed sense of purpose. The war had forged them into something stronger, something that the galaxy had never before seen. They were not invincible, but they were resilient, adaptable, and unyielding. And as they looked to the stars, they knew that their journey was far from over. Peace was their goal, but they were always ready for the next challenge, whatever it might be. The galaxy, once ruled by fear, was now a place where hope could take root, guided by the steady hand of a species that had proven its worth in the face of unimaginable odds.